of her idea and want to uplift artists and put them in new spaces, we were able to do something really special here. And as a woman of color, this exhibition means a lot to me. You know, it's nice to be able to see myself on the wall and throughout those who are coming into the museum. So this meant a lot. So thank you to the artists and their work, and Fancy for showing us what is possible here at the museum. And it just shows us that, you know, we really have so much more to do and so much more work to put in. So to also remind you guys, there is a reception post discussion. So please stay, connect, and enjoy the beautiful art. And welcome, Fancy.
Okay, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I do not like public speaking, but here I am. So my name is Fancy Vargas. I have been doing art curating as a business for about 3.5 years now. Prior to that, I taught art in the schools, specifically for my children's classrooms so that I would be able to highlight history that is not taught in our school system. I always tried to pick subject matters that our education system shied away from. I think that using art to teach the kids is really impactful, and through that, it led me to organizing a art protest during the BLM movement, specifically for children's and family. Just because I was doing a lot of protests, my older children wanted to join me, but any of you who are familiar with the protests in Seattle, you would know that those were not safe for children to be at. And through that, I was just offered an opportunity to organize a citywide art walk featuring Black artists in 2020. And after that, everything kind of just took off, and it led me to meeting all these wonderful artists. Also led me here to BEMA, to my BEMA bestie, Sadie. She's right. I remember when we were here for the market, I walked around the museum and I just said, man, wouldn't it be so cool to have an art exhibit with all Black artists? And she's like, yeah, you should go talk to Greg and see what he says. And it's really cool. A year from then, here we are now. Love the exhibit. Really excited about the fact that we were able to bring 20 Black visual artists here in Bainbridge, 2 artisans, including Richard, who's on the panel tonight, and some fashion designs from local Black fashion designers. So I'm gonna let all the artists introduce themselves so that I don't have to. Yolanda, you go first.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for coming out. I'm Yolanda Gallery. I'm a visual artist. That's me. I paint, mostly paint in acrylics. I do a little digital stuff on the side, but I've been painting about 3 years. I've known Fancy for a very short time of like less than 6 months, and she's been changing my life left and right. So yeah, I'm just excited to share some thoughts with you all, and yeah, thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Richard Burnett Jr. I'm the owner and founder of Our Burnett Brand, which is a luxury watch company founded in 2019. So that's who I am, and I'm glad to be here, and let's dive into the questions.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm pretty nervous up here. My name is Andrew Holloway. I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. I'm an artist. I've been drawing pretty much all my life. Started off as a comic book artist, and then started doing portraits and stuff, and realistic artwork. I've known Fancy for probably about little under 2 years now, and she's an awesome person to work with, and I told her anything she does I want to be a part of going forward. So I look forward to the questions. Thank you for having me here.
So we were originally supposed to have 5 artists on the panel, but one of our artists had an unexpected loss in his family, so he's back home in Mississippi with them right now. and another one of our artists just had a lot of stuff going on personally. But we will try to entertain you guys just as well without them. So we'll get right into the questions.
I think answering order should go like this. I'm just kidding.
That's okay. That's okay. Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? Awesome.
So the first question I will ask you guys, and you guys can answer as your answers come to mind, is how does the concept of luxury intersect with the lived experience and cultural expressions within the Black community, from your point of view?
You can start with her. No, I'm just playing. I'll go. Well, when you first approached me to do about this exhibit here, I was excited, first of all. Thank you. And what I got after our conversation was, Black luxury. As far as I was concerned, there's nothing more powerful than Black love, which is why the reason for my art piece. And then if you see it, it's got the accoutrements, and stuff with life, the gold jewelry and stuff like that. But to me, the Black and Boujee part of it was just Black love. And that's what, I've been married for 30 years and we've got 3 kids. So that pretty much dominates everything for me. So when you said Black and Boujee, that's what I thought.
A hand clap for 30 years of marriage.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Richard?
So for me, what that phrase means to me is, like, when it comes down to luxury, my brand is luxury. So my whole platform is based upon, using cultural things that I've been through, that my peers have been through, and highlighting those things. So for me, it's a very important topic. And when you did approach me for this event, I felt like it was a perfect match, because for me, that's the way that I market. That's the way that, I carry myself. That's the way that, I want to be presented into the world. And I want more people to see the luxury within the struggle, the pain, the things, the turmoils that we go through. And we still come out, smiling. We still come out, on top, and making sure that we're taking care of our needs and our families.
Okay, me next. The first thought that came to my mind, as far as the concept goes, was my muse is mostly Black women, just for the sake of representation. Growing up as a little dark-skinned Black girl, nappy hair, we didn't have that representation. So I wanted to paint something that showed the beauty that we do possess and the fact that we are art. And so when I thought of Black and Boujee, don't tell my mom, but she was a lot of the inspo behind my piece, because she's one of the bougiest ladies I know. And I just kind of wanted to portray luxury in a sense of just classic beauty, not just, diamonds or jewels or stuff like that, because we all know, Africa is gold. All the gold is there. So, and we are gold. So that's kind of what I wanted to portray.
Yeah. And kind of just quickly touching on what they all said, that's kind of what inspired me in general for this theme, for this art exhibit. First, when I initially spoke to Greg, I wanted to do a timeline of Black history through art. But after spending a little bit of time here, it is such a beautiful space, right? And I wanted to make sure that the art highlighted that, and also highlighted a lot of the things within our culture that I think are traditionally not highlighted. What Yolanda said is very powerful. All the gems and golds and luxuries and your cell phones, your TVs, your computers, everything is sourced from Africa. But for some reason, the way that the media tends to portray that is the complete opposite. And through art exhibits and through all the art things that we do together, that's always the mission, is to contradict these narratives that are mostly false. So, okay, next question. How does the intersection of luxury and Black culture challenge traditional power structures and notions of exclusivity within the art world? I kind of just answered your questions for you guys.
I can piggyback off of that, though. I think in regards to like my piece, I was going for like an era where, you know, we actually got dressed up. You know, you would be dressed like kind of the era my grandma grew up in, where like you were dressed, you had your, you know, pearls on, whatever, just to go get a loaf of bread. Like, you know, and I was kind of going for that, like, because like Fancy said, we're kind of portrayed as something different in society, and with the power structures, we're portrayed as not being that, or not having, you know, the civility to kind of operate and be in spaces where certain people do occupy more than we do. So yeah, that would be my thought on that.
My thought on that would be challenging us to, you know, reach new heights. Once we do put something out there in the world, whether it's an art piece, whether it's a design, whether it's a watch that I release, every time, you know, I release something, or if I, you know, have a new idea, you know, I want it to not only be more innovative than yesterday's, it pushes me to be better. It pushes me to figure out how to market better, to communicate with my community better, to figure out how to reach more people, how to present myself better, how to, you know, use, you know, different materials, use different, you know, ways to connect. So for me, you know, it's always trying to be better than yesterday.
I like that one. So for me, you know, it's a hard question because I'm pretty humble. And, you know, when I think of bougie, you know, I think of being out there and flashy and stuff like that. Now, I do have my little fancy watch here, but make no mistakes about it. I'm 51 and I had this at the age of 18. So, so I'm very, you know, I'm not out there. I'm not too extravagant or anything like that. And when like I said, when I think of Black and bougie, or when I think of bougie, as far as when it comes to Black people, I'm always thinking about, you know, young love, you know, and just being together as a family orient. You know, when you step outside and present yourself. And that's how I think of it. I don't think of it as the jewelry or the necklace or anything like that. I think of it more as your presentation and how you walk, how you present yourself. That's how I think of it when I think of, you know, being bougie and having the accoutrements and stuff like that. That's me. Sorry.
I love that, because my grandma always used to say, like, walk like you know where you're going. So even when I don't know, I just be like strutting, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
What responsibilities do artists have in addressing the historical exploitation and appropriation of Black culture in context to luxury, especially here in America?
I'll start. I think it's, you know, very important, because when it comes down to history, you know, that was a current time. We have to understand that now we're currently here, and we're, you know, putting our best foot forward. We're putting art out into the world. We're speaking to our communities, and, you know, the things that we say today is going to make a difference tomorrow. So short and sweet, it's very important. And if we have something that we want to change, we have to speak out about it now, and not just wait and, you know, think that it's going to happen without, you know, you first taking initiative.
So good question. So what I do is When I do festivals and stuff like that and showcase my artwork, one of the things that I do is I like to do pop figures and stuff like that just to get everybody into the my area, and then I hit them with the historical facts, my historical pieces. Everything is there pretty much to educate. So, but the pop stuff is to get people in the door. And once they're there, then it's like, okay, oh, who's this? Oh, this is Frederick Douglass. Who's this? This is Martin Luther King. And I explain these things to them. And to me, when it comes to luxury and stuff like that, what you have in your home, when you bring guests into your home, says a lot about you, and I think that we can, prosper a lot as Black people to have, historical figures in your home that actually mean something to you. When I was younger, you had your Martin Luther King, your John F. Kennedy, and your Jesus pieces and stuff like that in your home. Well, we've got so many more historical figures to choose from now, and I think that's one of the things that we can do. Is start putting more of those figures in your home so that you can, when you come in, you see.
I would say, like, to piggyback off of that, I tell people I was raised by my brother, Tupac, and Lauryn Hill. Like, those are the people who raised me. So, we can fight about it later. But, yeah, that's what got me inspired to kind of give myself and other Black women the representation that I try to give in my paintings with our hair, with our features, our skin, because I've always felt like Black women are the most consumed, like, commodities, like, from our hairstyles to our clothing styles to, like, everything. We are the blueprint, and we just get everything taken from us or modeled after us with zero credit or respect. So I think in challenging these ideals and structures, our generation has a lot of capacity to speak out because we have things that MLK didn't have. We have Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and platforms to gain millions and thousands of followers to be able to speak out and band together and find like-minded people. So I feel like it really is up to us to make these changes.
And I think it's important for, like, our counterparts to understand that there is a difference between appreciation and appropriation. I get a lot of questions from friends like, well, why does it bother you guys if we do this or do we do that? It's not about that. It's about the fact that, I'm going to use Yolanda's hair as an example. It's about the fact that we're in Seattle. There's a lot of white people in Seattle that rock locks, right? It's the difference between the admiration that they get for choosing this hairstyle with the criticism and the rejection that we would get from having this hairstyle that is very indicative of, like, what our background and what our culture is. And that goes in line with cornrows or braids. And if any of you guys have done a little bit of history research, cornrows were developed to hide passageways during slavery, during the Underground Railroad. So it's not just hair. There's so much behind it, behind the hair, behind the style, behind the clothing. There's a story behind all of it. And that's why I think it's important to educate ourselves so that we are appreciating and not just appropriating.
Yes.
Thank you, because my 13-year-old would be like, ugh, why are you always preaching, Mom? Okay. How do you channel your personal experiences and emotions into your artistic creations?
My personal experiences and the things that I've been through is the very reason why I started my brand. It was birthed out of, pain. It was birthed out of not having any way and having the only option to either sink or swim. So when it comes down to that question, like it's everything. Without those struggles, without that pain, without the being at the lowest point in my life, I wouldn't have been able to scramble and figure out a way to, you know, do so much research, on a daily basis about, a business that I never knew that I would be in. I never knew that I would be in the watch industry. But, once I didn't have an option, I started to research in countless amount of hours. And, within that time, that's when, I found love within the industry. So it's, simply put, it's everything to me.
For me, everything. Life gives me everything that I need in order to put a piece together. I like history, and actually I'm in school right now to be a history teacher. So it's either history or it's math. I like math. But I love history as well. And like I said before, one of the things that I want to do is I want to teach. I want to educate, especially our black kids that come through. When I do shows and stuff like that, I love to bring them in and just sit down and educate them on who our great historical figures are. It's not just for the black kids as well. It's all children. They need to know our history, our true history. And that's what gets me going. That's what, keeps my passion alive, is being able to do these pieces that actually spark conversation. Because that's what I'm here for, is just to spark the conversation.
Yeah, I love that too. I would say, I probably said it twice already, but I paint black women. I am one. So, but that is part of why I channel what I channel in my art. Just growing up, I grew up in Yakima. So from about the time I was 5, we got to Yakima, and I've been in the Seattle area for like 12 years now. But I was very immersed in the cultures in Yakima. You have Mexican culture, you have little black culture. There's a little bit of everything there, more so here. But I remember I had this crush in like 5th grade, and I had a friend like go and ask him if he thought I was cute, and his response was, "Well, she's cute for a dark-skinned girl or for a black girl," something like that. And I was just like, "What?" So those kind of experiences, or having, people wanting to touch my hair. I got in a fight in middle school. I went to a predominantly white middle school, and I got in a fight because some girl dared another girl to like touch my hair, and then they were like, "Oh, it feels like a sponge," or said something crazy, and I was like, "Now I gotta drag you." So, it's that has gotten I think that is why I paint the things I paint. And also growing up kind of disconnected from my own culture, not knowing where. I think it's hard for a lot of black people and people of color. We don't have a family crest. Like, we don't know where we came from, and ancestry can only tell you so much. So if your family wasn't really documenting things, it's just like, I don't know, I think we're a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I've been on this quest to find my ancestry, and I was able to find a tribe of my great-grandparents from my dad's side out of Ghana. So that was pretty cool. But it's really just a struggle of trying to realize my own beauty. So a lot of my pieces are self-portraits in a way, because I'm just on this mission to try to find this sense of self and sense of beauty and who I am, and be able to show other black women and girls, like, this is, you are beautiful. I had a little girl come up to me on a table at a market I was doing, and I had this piece that had Bantu knots, and she was like, "My mommy does my hair like that." And I actually cried, and I was like, take a print, tell your mom, free of charge. Just make sure she hangs it up in your room somewhere. Like, that's why I paint what I paint, and why I channel the things I channel in my art.
I love that.
Now y'all gonna make me cry up here.
For me to answer that question, why I decided to do art curating, pretty much everything that they share. I think that I don't know how to draw, but I feel like my mind operates very much as a creative. And spending time with each and every one of the artists inspire me, hearing their background stories and what they've overcome and how they've chosen to share those stories in order to help other people overcome the same thing allows me, I guess, like the courage to walk into, to go up to Sadie and be like, yo, we should do this art show. And really like not be scared, because when you're doing work that's on behalf of others, I think it gives you a little bit more courage and a little bit more bravery, i.e. me sitting up here talking in front of y'all. And art really has, specifically like through the protests, I realized that art really has a way of touching people's hearts and changing people's minds. I remember so many DMs and messages that I got from city council members and the mayor and the chamber CEO, like just saying things like, wow, like I supported Black Lives Matter, but I never thought about it in this context. I never thought about the way that you guys have to experience life in this country that you built essentially on your ancestors' backs, but you guys don't get treated with the same respect and the same civility that we do. And I think that once I did that first art walk and I saw the power behind that, it really encouraged me to keep going and creating exhibits and art walks and different opportunities for the artists to share their stories, because I saw the way that the community and the audience engaged with them and connected with them. And I feel like every single person really has the power to make a difference, even if it is by just touching one person, because then that person can go out and then touch more people. And it's basically like the butterfly effect. So, yeah. Do you find that your emotional state affects the direction and outcome of your artistic work? If so, how do you harness this connection between emotions and creations?
There we go. Yes. My emotions are in every piece. I'm going to tell a story if you don't mind. I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington, so that's 51 years in Tacoma. And what we're going through or what we're seeing now is just, it's unbelievable, all these people in the same room and stuff like that. When I was in school, there was only 2 other black kids where I went. It was a change, or it was different. But it was something that I was, I'd grown to be used to, especially in this area. My emotions are, like I said, they're in every single piece that I do, because I can't express it enough. We're so far away from the South, which is where all of our people are pretty much congregated. So when we move forward, something gets lost, and I'm sorry being scattered, but I'm gonna bring this home. So please allow me to land here. One time I went to Baltimore, and I don't know about everybody here. I know we've heard stories about Baltimore and how dangerous it is, and it's just a black mecca for crime and stuff like that. But I went there because my wife had a convention to go to, and I was expecting something, and it was sad for me, because I was, expecting not the best out of my people, but from the moment I touched ground, I never seen this before. Like I said, I was born and raised out here. I'm more used to seeing white people than black people. And when I got there and I seen that, black people were working, they were everywhere, and there was no violence, no gunshots, no nothing like that. I promise, as God is my witness, I was on the corner and I just broke down crying. because everything that I knew, I was born and raised up here, not around, a lot of black people. So it's like I felt like I lost something. But I felt at that time that, okay, I gained something. Here's my people just doing various things, and they're not arguing, they're not fighting, there's no shooting, there's nothing that I seen in the media that represented Baltimore was what I seen when I actually went there. And, stuff like that I bring home. I bring that home. I bring that to my artwork, to my little traveling gallery is what I call it, and it just motivates me to keep going, to know that, my children's children, which, I've got a grandbaby, they'll be able to, see this artwork. They'll be able to see our people, and get a good feeling off of it. But, I'm mumbling, so I apologize. But, that's what I feel. I put my feeling in every single piece,
So emotions is how I found the temperament of who I was. And I'll backtrack to, my childhood. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and 3 years later I moved to the Seattle area. I went to a few schools out here. Probably about like 10, 12 years later, I moved back to the South. So I was always moving from school to school, and, was very adaptable. Because I had to be, because moving from school to school, you can't really keep too many friends. You know that it's going to be temporary. So when it came down to me being younger, as I look back, I see that a part of me was just, going through the motions. I was pretty much numb. Wasn't really using any emotions because I didn't want to get hurt by leaving the person that I got connected to within that short amount of time. So with that being said, like, as I got into my adult years of life, I kind of seen that same pattern. And, my work life, I wouldn't get too close to certain people because this may be temporary. But I know once I did start my brand, it allowed me to find a temperament of who I am, and it allowed me to cultivate connections that actually mean something. Like to this day, I think my longest friendship is only probably 6 years. And I used to look at that as a bad thing, but it also allowed me to be very, very versatile and be in so many different rooms and able to connect with so many different and diverse people. But with that being said, my emotions is into everything now. I'm able to, see the community clear because I'm not scared that, okay, I may move out of this community, the next year or the year after that or something like that. So for me, emotions is, everything. And I bleed that through my brand. So it's shown as, my lifestyle. That's it.
Have you guys seen his watches? They're amazing. They are amazing. I met him probably about a year and a half ago, and man, I've been screaming, I want one. I promise you I'm going to get one. I promise. I'm going to
hold you to that.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay, well, yeah, since we're talking about emotions, I can be vulnerable and just share. I don't care. Because I feel like sharing stories is what inspires others to either share their story or really live their story. But emotions are definitely poured into my pieces because art, whether I was, writing songs, I wrote a song when I was 5, I wrote a rap. I've always been a creative, but it was a way for me to escape reality. So I will age myself. I know y'all think I'm 18. I'm 35. And so I was born in 88, and, there's a saying in the Black community, if you were born in the 80s, either you had one or both parents on crack or someone you loved, someone you knew, auntie, uncle, cousin. And, so that was my reality. We were homeless a lot. We were moving around a lot. We moved to and from, I was born in Denver, so we moved to and from Denver like twice. Like I missed a whole year of school from like first grade. So it was, it was crazy. But through all that, I always looked at my mom in the sense, kind of the same way Tupac looked at his mom. Like, even as a crack fiend, you always was a black queen. So she made things happen. And she raised my brother and I on her own. And so we're out here thriving. He lives in Florida. He's married, has a whole football team of kids and all that. He's preparing to send his second off to college. So she did good. But it translates in my art. I think that's why I paint black women so much, because they're just so powerful to me, because I literally grew up with the superhero who had all the kryptonites and everything thrown at her and still came out shining. So I think that me painting what I paint right now just kind of scratches the surface of me finding myself. And I'm trying to think of ways that I can share kind of more of a biographical point of view of my experiences through my art. So right now I'm just starting with what I see in the mirror and what I see around me. And so, yeah, in the next couple years or so, I don't know, we might have some pieces that are very, very hard to do. But I feel like part of my mission is to get those pieces out, because someone else has the same story as me or a similar story. So, yeah, there's emotion in every piece I do. I can only work on one piece at a time. I'm trying to do multiple pieces at a time. I can't do it. I'm so emotionally invested in something that I'm painting that everything else has to wait till I'm done with this piece. So yeah, that's where I would say.
So speaking of pieces, is there a particular piece that you guys have created that means the most to you? I know I have had conversations with artists where there's that piece of art that is never for sale because it means so much to them. And if so, why?
I'll go again real quick. Mine's quick. I have a Tupac piece. It's one of my first pieces that I painted, and that is not for sale. I'll show it places. You can have all the prints you want, but yeah, that one's not going anywhere. And I think, like I said, I'm so emotionally connected to it because of our stories. And, being born when he was kind of like my big brother on TV, like that I just didn't get to meet in person, So he was a very integral part of my childhood and a lot of my thought processes and inspiration to stand up for myself, stand up for, disenfranchised people and speak out came from him. So yeah, that's my favorite piece, and he is not for sale. I'll show y'all him later if you want to see him though.
So of course I do something a little bit different. I design watches, and the main watch that kind of stood out to me was the first one that I ever created, and a little bit of vulnerability. Once I did receive that first initial that design back from my suppliers, and actually getting that watch in my hand and seeing it, physically in my hands, I don't know what came over me. I don't know, maybe there was some onions in the room or something like that. I literally just started crying. So that's that watch is called Bren. It's gonna pop up somewhere on here, or it was on the slideshows once it was coming. But it's a watch called Bren. It's made out of zebra wood and stainless steel, and that is one that no matter how big my brand gets, that's one watch that I will forever have in my catalog, because that's the one that I started with. That's the one that brought me to tears. So that's my favorite piece that I have in my collection.
I was, I was just thinking about this, and I apologize if I got tears coming out, because this one, I mean, that's a good question. I have a piece that I'm working on, and I've been working on for over 20 years now, and it's never going to be finished because it's never going to be right. My little brother was killed when he was only 22. He was shot 3 times in the back. And what we wanted to do when we did the memorial is we wanted to have one of my sketches. We wanted to have one of my sketches on the plaque. And, my mom was like, do this for me. We'll hold off. And we held off for 2 years. And finally, I just bought the plaque without the picture on it because I said, I'm never going to be finished with it, Mom. I'm sorry. But every now and then I'll get the nerve to pull it out and work on it. But it's never going to be finished. And that's one that, is very, very emotional for me. And I'm sorry, everybody. I apologize.
Don't be sorry.
I think that's part of the beauty of art is being able to be vulnerable. And, you don't just have to paint what people like. I think a true artist will paint what they feel. And so I commend you for that, and condolences.
Thank you.
That's beautiful, though.
Thank you. Sorry. Didn't want to bring everybody down. It's emotions. We're talking about emotions, right?
We're artists. We're sensitive.
That's one of the things that I think drew me to Mr. Andrew. If you notice, I always say Mr. Andrew. I will never call him by his first name because I have so much respect for this man. But that's one of the things that drew me to him when I first met him is just his ability to be vulnerable and connect with people who are just coming up to buy their art and just sharing his story willingly and openly, and never apologize for that. I think that that's beautiful, and I'm pretty sure that your brother's smiling down at you.
Absolutely. No doubt.
So we're going to do a 10 to 15 minute intermission, but before, I'd like to take questions from the audience. We'll do one question time now, and then one at the end. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? You want to come over here?
Hello. My name is Anthony Henderson. This question is actually for Mr. Andrew.
All right.
I saw your piece out there. If I'm correct, it's the one with the couple looking into each other's eyes.
Yes, yes.
That really drew me in. All of your art pieces out there really drew me in. But one of the things I wanted to ask is how I feel like I really saw the love. And so when you were describing what you try to put in your art, I was like, yeah, how did you capture that and put that into that art piece? I feel like you can draw a couple any different type of way, but I just stared at it for a long time because I was like, these two people they're real, right? They got to be real.
Yes,
they care for each other. How did you capture that?
I'm glad you said that because it's like I spent a lot of time when I do portraits and stuff like that. I always say, if I get your eyes, I got you. It's done. Done deal. Noses don't matter, mouths don't matter, nothing like that. Everything falls into place once I do your eyes. And one of the things that I liked about that piece is that it's out of my head. So there's no couple for it or anything like that. I drew inspiration off of me and my wife. I look at her, and we've been together. I mean, like I said, 30 years. We got together when she was 18 and I was 19. And I couldn't stop, just staring at her. And every time I mean, she was beautiful. Yeah, she still is beautiful. Don't get me. Nobody's. But so the eyes. I'm glad you noticed that because that's what I really concentrated on is that look. There's a certain look that if you're looking into someone that truly loves you, you'll see it. And that's what I was going for, and I think I captured it, and I'm glad you've seen that. Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask?
Don't be shy.
Nothing's off limits.
We love to talk, as you
There's
can
no
tell.
kids
so.
in the room, so y'all can ask whatever you want.
Can I ask a question? For Richard, man, are you working on any new watches at this point in time? Is there anything that you're working on, or are you just on the marketing of what you have? Or
Let's see if I want to reveal that. So yes, I am working on new designs and figuring out how to work with new materials. Right now, I predominantly work with wood and stainless steel, and the unique thing about my brand is each piece is made out of wood. So that would forever be the standard with every single watch that I do release. But I do want to switch up into titanium and wood, or different, better, different types of different types of steel and titanium and stuff like that. So that's things that I'm working with now. The most recent one that I've done is on the showroom floor. It's untitled, and it's made out of composite wood, and it kind of has streaks of orange, black, and also green in it as well. So that one is the most recent one that I put together, and that's one that I'm proud of as well.
Oh, was that for me? I'm not really sure how to ask this question, but, okay, I'm a white, wealthy-ish, middle-aged, elderly woman. And I live on Bainbridge Island. And I worry about how to access real black people if we don't talk about what it means to be black. And I've been told by some of my black friends that they just want to be treated if they were no different. But on the other hand, I'm asked to respect black culture. So how do I identify and respect a culture and not sound like I'm saying other is worse? How do I talk? I think art is a really good vehicle, and it's one of the things I really think strongly of. But I have a captive audience of 3 younger black people. How do I reach out without looking condescending or critical? Or I want to know how to communicate, if there is a way that you would prefer that authentic communication takes place.
Sure. That is a great question. And heck, I mean, even myself as a black person, I get, different reactions when I, talk to different black people as well. So it really depends on who you talk to. But my advice would be to you is never stop asking questions. Never stop talking. Know that you might not get a good answer, from everybody, but if you keep talking, one day you're going to get an answer that you're comfortable with, that you feel, Are you uncomfortable that I asked that question? I am not by any means at all, because like I said, I was born and raised out here, so some of the questions that you have, I might have too, because I'm so far removed from, the South, which is where a lot of our families are from. That's where, the majority of slaves were from. And this right here was a migration, that we did. So, me being so far away from the majority of us, I've got those questions too. I've got a lot of questions, and sometimes I trip and stumble. But the same advice I just gave you, I take for myself. I ask questions, and I'm not afraid of the answer. Don't be afraid of the answer, because it might hurt. It might hurt, but you're talking to hurt people. So that's the only thing I can say is keep continuing to ask your questions, because they're great questions. That's a great question.
And I'll add to that. What I would say is communicate communicate to the person the best way you know how to. Because coming from myself, if I received an email from you, I'm a mature person. I see things from many different lenses. So the thing that I would be kind of, I guess, taken back by is seeing somebody try to code switch. What I mean by code switch is like basically trying to tailor it to that particular person rather than being themselves. Because I know I can show a lot of grace if I know a person is just being themselves. If they're just, genuinely reaching out and saying like, hey, I want to understand you. So for me, it's more so genuinely being yourself and, handling people with care. And that goes a long way, because I know for me, one thing that I look at a person's character first. I don't look at, things that they've done. Yes, actions may hurt, but like once you understand a person's true character, you know that some people make mistakes. So when it comes down to it, my best advice would be, when you're reaching out to, a person of color or black culture, or trying to, understand their perspective, it's just, come at it from your vantage point, and that's all we know. Because for me personally, I only have one way of communicating with people. Yes, I'm very diverse and like I'm able to adapt, but for me, if I'm 10 times out of 10, I'm the same person in every single room. So I would just say, just be genuine, and people will see that.
I would add, like, to piggyback off of code switching, don't approach with like, hey, yo, so, no one says yo anymore. Yeah. But I would just say, like Mr. Andrew said, continuing to ask questions, but when asking questions, really ask for understanding instead of asking to reply. I think that is a big problem with having these type of discussions, is people are asking questions, but they're asking it to kind of like, okay, so why is this? Oh, well, I hear your answer, but, and they want to prove that answer wrong or invalid in some kind of way, instead of just saying, I understand. There's a quote I saw just the other day, and it said, pain travels through families until someone's ready to feel it. And I feel like I'm that person in my family that was like, all right, let's have these hard conversations. Because not only are we dealing with the history that we've been through, now we're fighting for it to not be erased. And then we're also having to deal with our own family traumas that were a result of some of the stuff that we've been through. And epigenetics is real. There's trauma that happened hundreds of years ago that is in my DNA, that I have no control over it being there. I just got to deal with it. And that's kind of for anybody, though, not just black people. But yeah, I would just say asking questions from a point of view of wanting to understand versus invalidate. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
I think I can echo all of that as well. And a lot of it has to do with education. Both of my parents are immigrants. My mom is from Panama, my dad is from Mexico. But my mom is a black Panamanian, so I actually grew up in Maryland, Mr. Andrew. So I appreciate the stories you shared about
My wife's black Panamanian as well.
Oh, we might be cousins. You might be my uncle. And there is a lot of Panamanians in Tacoma. So we should check that out. But I actually find myself learning a lot about the African American experience through my children, because their dad is Black and his family's from here. And I think it's important to always want to educate yourself. Like, I'm not afraid, even with this specific exhibit, there was plenty of the artists that I reached out to when I was coming up with the verbiage to make sure that it honored their experience. Because I have the realization that since I am first generation, my experience is a lot more removed than theirs is. I grew up basically biracial, and in Maryland, that was not a thing. So when I moved here and saw all these mixed kids running around, I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, I've never seen other people that look like me. And so I've learned a lot through my children. I've learned a lot through asking questions. And again, with what Yolanda said, I think that is important. Even when I'm having conversations with, like, a lot of city council people will try to tokenize me and be like, fancy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, basically, if you really want to not be ignorant, because I always say it's okay to be ignorant as long as you're not willing to stay there. You look up the definition of ignorant in the dictionary, you basically don't know any better, but you can always change that. I always tell them it's important, like, first of all, to recognize and acknowledge that it's not our job to educate you. It's just not. So you could come across someone who has that attitude, and you can't be offended by that, because there's a whole bunch of libraries around here where you could just look stuff up. But also, when you do come across someone who's willing to have that discussion, like Yolanda said, don't be defensive, because you can't have a back and forth conversation about someone's experience that you've never had. You can't teach them about their experience because you have not walked in their shoes. And like I said, even myself, I'm very careful about what I say, when I say it, and even opportunities that I take, because I know that I have not had the same lived experience because my parents are immigrants and because I am biracial. So I think that taking the time to educate yourself as much as you can, and coming from a place of compassion and being genuine, like Rich said, and not being combative, like Yolanda said, is important. You had a question, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I lied. We're not taking a break. Just kidding.
I wanted to. Stand right here. I wanted to know if there were any artists that y'all look to or take from that may or may not have some sort of influence in the styles that you make today. Oh, no, actually, no, I'm lying. I have a better question. I lied. Do you have an artist that, apart from this exhibition, that you think best displays Black and Boujee in your opinion or in your view? I said, tell me your Black and Boujee artist that's not in this exhibition outside.
That's not in this exhibit. Oh my goodness, because everyone is in this exhibition. Who's the gentleman? The Jamaican? Is he Jamaican?
Natty?
Yes.
From
Where's he from?
the Congo.
The Conga? Oh my God, unbelievable artist. If you get a chance, look at his work, because when I first seen it, it inspired me to do, just another piece right off the bat. He's got a unique style to him, and I'm not into colors, right? I'm into black and white, but he you got to see it. You got to see it, because it's like his figures and his facial figures, they're so non-detailed but detailed at the same time. I don't know how else to say that, but if you stare into it, you'll get lost. So, and I like pieces. I don't have an overall favorite, but I like pieces to where I can stare at and just look at for just like what would seem like hours, but it's only minutes. But you just get lost in it, and sometimes there's just a single section where you get lost. And I like artists that can lose me like that, where I can just lose track of time. Just watch it, just looking at it.
What was the name of the artist? I couldn't hear.
His artist name is Natty Dreads Illustrated.
And that was artists that's not in the expedition you mentioned. Oh, I can take that. Yeah. I'll keep it on canvas because that's what first struck my mind. So I have a sister. Her name is Kay, the Paint Lady. She is from Baton Rouge as well, but she's been in the Seattle area for about 10 to 15 years. Promoting her business. And she had a big inspiration on me business wise and me creatively and artistically as well. And the painting that she did, I'm going to do horrible at describing it, but it's a painting that reminded me of my nephew, which he's one of the main reasons why I'm out here in Seattle today. So when I did see that painting, it kind of like captivated my mind. It made me, want to purchase that painting and also, hang it up on my wall. And like, that's something that I look at daily because it keeps me grounded. So yeah, I wish I had a photo to show you guys because I cannot describe it, but it's near and dear to my heart for sure. And it keeps me going.
He took my answer of Natty, but Natty's in the show. So that's a really good question. It's tough for me because I don't know anything about art. I just know that I like to make it. I've seen lots of art. I've been inspired by artists that go nameless, But if I had to answer, it wouldn't even be visual art. It'd probably be in the music area. And like I mentioned earlier, I was raised by Tupac and Lauryn Hill. And I would say Lauryn, Miss Hill, just lyrically and how she carried herself, it really shaped how I carry myself. Just having that representation and that model to follow. And when I think of some of the things like that Thing song, that would probably be the one that I would say is like the one.
Did you see her on tour?
Okay, can I tell a story real quick? Okay. I know we're supposed to be taking a break. So I saw her when she came to Seattle, and when her set lit up, it was like this teal and purple, and I had actually done a painting of her in those same colors like a year before. And so I was like, okay, my ancestors are telling me that I need to get Lauryn Hill this painting somehow. I sold the original. The original lives in Atlanta somewhere, and I hope she's doing well. Well, she is. She sent me a picture of her, and she's beautiful. She framed her and everything. I was like, yeah. So me and my husband were at this show, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's the same color as my painting. I literally got on my phone and was like, when is the next show? Which was the next night in Portland. So I overnighted a print to be made, and I picked it up the next morning, and I drove to Portland the next day with this like painting. I wrote a letter on the back about like how she inspired me and all this stuff. And I watched Sister Act 2 like 80 million times, and I drove it to Portland, and then I meet this guy in the parking lot of the center. I know it as the Moda Center. I don't know what it's called now. And this was like back in November. This like just happened. But I'm like, hey, do you think I can get in with this? Because it was like a 18 by 24 like kind of print. And he was like, I don't know. So I go in the line to get in, and they try to take it like, oh, no, you can't go in because there's a no sign policy. And I'm like, well, it's not a sign. And then they're like, oh, well, there's a no poster policy. It's not a poster. It's actually a canvas. So after like 20 minutes and 3 supervisors, Lauryn Hill's tour manager comes up, and they're like, oh, they're like, the best we can see is if she's taking gifts from fans. And so another 20 minutes goes by, and then the tour manager comes back, and she's like, yeah, we'll take it. So I was able to get her my piece, and it was so crazy because I literally just like, wow, the worst that could happen is, they'll put it in the locker for me, and then I get to see the show twice, back to back. What's wrong with that? So, but it was still a great show, so I got to see it twice, and she got the painting, and it was just super cool. So, yeah, I did see her on tour twice, back to back. Oh, yeah, I did. I put my full name, and then the tour manager actually took a photo of my ID, and she was like, yeah, if we want to mail you something. And so I haven't got anything, but I know she got the painting. So I'm like, she's busy. It's okay. She'll remember. Thank you.
For me, not canvas, music also, Billie Holiday.
Oh, yes.
Her voice is just so rich and powerful, and in general, she was such an elegant woman. Yes, Black and Boujee all day. And
Did you see my piece?
I did.
Oh.
That's why we're friends. Hello. I think music is definitely another beautiful form of art. Definitely the first form of art that I fell in love with. My grandfather in Panama was an opera singer, and so was his sister. My family grew up very poor over there and here as well, but one thing my mom would always tell us when we were little, that just because we're poor, we don't have to dress like we are, we don't have to carry ourselves like we are, and we don't have to behave that way either. So I've learned that from a very young age, like just to be classy or like a lady, which is ironic because in real life I cuss a lot and she would not be happy. But for me, that translates to like the way I treat people and, making sure that they feel loved and taken care of, even if it's someone that you don't know, right? So definitely Billie Holiday would be my answer for that one. Any other? Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
This is just a thank you for the reporting. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. This is just a thank you to everyone involved for putting this together. This is the first time I've walked into a room and I was almost moved to tears, and I just didn't cry because I didn't want to. I wanted to really enjoy it. The whole exhibit really moved me. I've been to a lot of art exhibits. I've been to the African American Museum of History. I can't remember this name, over in Tennessee and stuff like that. But that was like an exhibit of our pain, and this was an exhibit of our beauty. And I really appreciate you putting this together. And just thank you. You guys, all the art is beautiful and moving, and I want to buy some of it. I don't know if I can afford it, but it's usually I see art and I'm like, oh, that's nice. But every single piece, I was like, can I have this one too? Can I have? And it's just, thank you for curating this. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for pouring your souls into your creations. I'm like a digital, everyone in my life knows I'm all digital, but your watches, I'm like, I'm gonna have to just go back to analog because, I love it. It's beautiful.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I try to tell everybody that, throw the Apple Watches away.
Yeah, It's it's refreshing to see. The Rolexes are played out. The whole Audemars, every watch is the same, and yours is very unique, very beautiful. And then the colors that you use, Yolanda, I love to see those pop. They don't really see those in our art, and I love that you're expanding the palette that we use. Yes. And I'm a charcoal pencil kind of guy myself too. So yeah. Anyway, love everything. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, well said.
Wait, so you're an artist? You're an artist?
I gotta get back to it.
Okay. Let's link up after this.
I was gonna say, Fancy gonna get you.
You're right. Don't ever tell me you're an artist, because we're gonna have you in a magazine in 3 months.
She's
not lying.
Not at all.
Any other questions?
You guys define bougie for me?
Ooh, I like that question. We had a little debate in our group chat. It was a different group chat that I'm in separate from this exhibit, but there's some artists in it from this exhibit, and this one artist was like, that is not how you say it. It's bourgeois and it's spelled like this. And it's like, no, we actually redefined it. So my definition of bougie would be just opulence, just I will not settle for beer if there's champagne right there, That's my definition. It's not arrogance. It's not, anything like that. It's just knowing your worth and living in your worth and carrying yourself like what your worth is. So, yeah, not settling, being confident, and self-love.
I was just about to say confidence. That's pretty much what it means to me is confidence, having that confidence. You're black, you're confident, black and bougie.
I don't think I need to say anything. That pretty much summed it all up, and that's how I feel about the word bougie as well. I know for me, growing up, there was like a negative connotation on it. But, as I matured, you're able to kind of, redefine things and figure out what it means for you rather than what it means for society. So, like Yolanda said, bougie means confidence for me. Of course, I'm a confident man. I move with confidence. I speak with confidence. And, when it comes down to, my lifestyle, I say I live a luxury lifestyle because that's what I want to exemplify in my personal life and also in business-wise. So, like she said, when it came down to, the difference between beer and champagne, yes, I'm definitely choosing champagne. I'm definitely choosing, my bank account hates me for that, that mindset. But if it's a convenience, I'm paying more for it. If it's a, something that has, a little bit of a higher quality to it, like if I know it's there, I just can't go lower. So that's what bougie means for me. It just means, I just want the best for myself.
Oh, what a way to end that one, boy. That was nice.
I think it means quality. Quality in relationships, quality in the way that you choose to live your life. So it can surpass even material things. Quality in the way you give and receive love. Quality in the way that you choose to experience life. I read something, I saw this documentary, I'm just kidding, it was the IG reel. I always tell people, listen, I watched this documentary, it's really real. I read this article, it's just Pinterest. As a mom, I have to get information where I can, so.
Real quick.
Right, exactly. That a lot of the stress that you have in life is how you choose to deal with the experiences. So I think that, like I said, that bougie can surpass material things and really go to how you experience things, how you choose to experience, because you can have quality of mind, a quality mindset that will help you get through a lot of tough times and navigate a lot of turbulent things that may come your way. So that's my definition of bougie. Any other questions? No? Okay, I have a question. If y'all could go back in time, any period in time, who would you choose to meet and why?
Oh, y'all already know my answer. Tupac, baby. And I would choose to meet him because I don't know if you guys watched the Dear Mama documentary. If you haven't, it is incredible. And I'm going to do an Afeni piece just because I have to. but there was so much more to him than what the media portrayed. We all know the media's job is to just get those hot takes and get the, views and subscription and, newspaper sales back then or whatever it was in the 90s. But like learning that side of him from his family, from his aunt, from his dad, from people who were really around him, he had so much energy. He was so many different energies in one vessel that there was no way he could be here for long. It was just not gonna happen because there was just too much. And I would just love to have a 10-minute conversation with him about just anything, because he was so much more intelligent than the media and everything led us to believe. And that would be my person.
Historical, I'd say Malcolm X, and for one of the same reasons for her when she said Tupac. Very powerful figure, and I'm still waiting to see, an unapologetic black man when he speaks, right? Because a lot of us, tailor down what we say or what we actually want to say or what we actually say when just to make people feel comfortable, and that was a man's man, I guess, if I could say that, as far as black men. And I know he was very controversial, but he was very loving at the same time. And I think that a lot of his message was misinterpreted and, didn't come across to the media as well as it should have, because it wasn't a total separation that he was looking for. It was, hey, we need to separate so that we can get our act together and then we can come back, because so much damage was done to us that we're still working on it to this day. And to me, like I said, I like the fact that he was unapologetic. And when you asked a question, he would give you the question, not give you the answer, not necessarily the answer that you wanted to hear, but it was from his heart, So yeah, Malcolm X would probably be the one for me.
That's a strong second for me. So, yep.
Mine would be one of my family members. Would be my great grandma. Yes, I have met her briefly before, but I was very young. Still very, very active, running inside and out of the house, and just moving, rolling around in dirt, just wanted to go just play and stuff like that. But I remember every time I was around her, I felt comfortable in her presence. And she was one of the only family members that was able to allow me to have that feeling. So looking back at me kind of like running in and out and just being very playful and not doubling down on that feeling that she did give me, once it was gone, that was something that, I wish I would have cultivated a lot more, and got a lot closer to her so I can, not pretty much have that sense of void when, she did pass away. So that would be the person that I would, go back and, so to say, re-meet and, spend more time with.
I have two that I can't choose between. In middle school, I was very fortunate. My history teacher was actually an ex-Panther. So in general, the way that he gave us history, because we were learning about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass, was very, very different than I feel like other people got to experience in this educational system. So the first person would be Frederick Douglass, because I did grow up in Maryland. So one of our field trips was to his home that he built when he escaped slavery. And when you first walk into his house in the foyer, there's this big, beautiful red chandelier that's just so captivating. And that always really stuck with me because the way that house looked, how beautiful it was to come where he came from, Like, that always really impacted me. It always left me with you can accomplish anything. It doesn't matter if you're from the dirt. And from someone who is from the dirt, like, that really meant a lot to me. So he would definitely be someone that I'd like to meet. He taught himself and educated himself so well along the way of the struggles and the pain that he went through slavery, escaping slavery, and then fighting for others to be able to leave slavery as well. And also Martin Luther King, but not the Disneyland watered down version that I feel that has been spoon-fed to us throughout time, specifically in the media. But Martin Luther King, the man who really pushed towards economic protests and fought, which is the reason why they took him out, because at the end of his life, when he was really pushing for the community to do all the boycotts, if you guys are not aware, the Black community has the biggest buying power in all of America, but we benefit the least from it. The Black community's dollars stay within the community, if we're referring to a time frame, maybe like 10 minutes tops, right? And when he really started to educate the Black community about that and about the power in our spending and how we really do control a lot more than they want us to know, that's when they took him out. So I would really like to meet Martin Luther King in his truest form, not the way that they just want to depict him to us in the media. Okay, one last question. If y'all could talk to a young up-and-coming artist, what is the one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would say don't be afraid to try new things. The reason being, the reason why I do say that is I wasn't a big watch fanatic as a kid. My love for watches came when I was about 24, 25. Yes, throughout all of my life, I've worn watches, and it was something that was a staple when it came down to my wardrobe. But I never looked at my wrist and was like, I'm going to create one of these one day. So yeah, don't be afraid to try new things. You never know what you'll find your passion in. So don't be afraid to cycle outside of that box, outside of the norm, outside of the the hobbies that you do have. If it presents the opportunity to do something, like hey, if you have the time for it, go ahead and do it. You never know. You might find your passion. You might find something. You might just find something that that you're able to stick to. So that would be my advice. Don't be afraid to try new things.
I'll go. Man, I have so much advice for an up-and-coming artist. Going off of don't be afraid to try new things, I would tell them that as well, because most of my working life was in the medical field. I was a CNA for years, and I have a degree in medical lab technology. So I've never stepped foot in a lab besides when I was doing my clinicals, because I was like, I want to be an artist. That's plan B. Like, art doesn't have to be plan B. It can be plan A. Whatever you want to be is plan A, always. And I would, in this day and age, I would tell them just kind of the cliche, be yourself, but sometimes you are finding yourself as you're creating. So you don't go into creating just knowing who you are. I didn't. I've learned a lot about myself just in 3 years of painting. And I would say in this day and age with social media, do not play that numbers game, because it will discourage you. It'll drive you crazy. You'll feel so proud of something and you share it, and maybe one or two people are like, oh, that's cool. And now you feel all defeated because you didn't get 1 million followers overnight, Don't play that game, because it's very inauthentic, and that's not the way to use that tool. And just find the right way to use these tools while you're discovering yourself and living out your plan A, if I was going to put it all in one sentence.
Focus on your craft.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to piggyback off of those two and just say, do it because you love it, and continue to do it as long as you love it. If you're doing it to get into money, there's not that much money in it unless you. Whew. Yeah, do it because you love it. If you're looking for the money, it's there. But as long as you're focused on something other than the money, you're going to be all right. So do it because you love it.
Yeah, all of that. So impact over income, not being scared to try new things. And I always believe in, like, if something really scares you, you should do it because it scares you. In that area of fear is where you'll find growth. So discomfort equals growth. And same with Yolanda as well. I've learned a lot about myself as a woman through this business and through the creative process of working with other creatives. I hear a lot of women, specifically moms, like talk about like how beautiful motherhood is and like how they learned so much about themselves as a woman through motherhood. I did not have that experience like at all.
Same.
It was traumatic. So, but like through this process, I have learned a lot about myself. I think beforehand, even this exhibit, like working with them, because there's like 30 of them. This is the biggest group of artists that I've worked with to date. Just learning about my own capacity. I think in the past, especially when I first started, because I don't have a degree in art or curating, and I didn't go to school for this, like I just went to school for business and entrepreneurship. And I had a lot of people like, oh, you can't do that, or like that's reaching too big, or wanting too much, or reaching too high. And like, if y'all have people in your life who tell you that, like F that, because that is not true. You're literally capable of doing anything you put your mind to. And I think that this last 18 months when I've had to go from running my business from alleged partners to just running it by myself, it really did teach me a lot about myself and what I'm capable of, and really never let anybody dictate what is possible and what you're able to achieve. So yeah.
Thanks for that motherhood comment. I thought it was just me.
It ain't just you.
Yeah.
Mom life is hard.
It's very hard.
I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, so now we are going to head into our reception. There's complimentary refreshments out in the bistro, and then y'all can meet and greet and chat with the artists out there as well. Oh, in the gallery. Just kidding. Oh, then you guys can see the art. Oh, and to your question about the art, purchasing the art, and like all the art is available to order via prints as well. So if the original pieces are not in y'all's price range, you could always chat with the artist, or if there's another piece that you like from another artist that's not here, I'd be happy to connect you. They can do canvas prints, which would be on a canvas as well, or you can do paper prints that you can frame. So there's always a lot of options to be able to appreciate and take home art with you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, cool. I love that.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.